Okay, thank you, Eric. Welcome to the Plan and Zoning Commission meeting. I will now read the rules and procedures. The Plan and Zoning Commission is generally an advisory body to the City Council. The City Council will hold a public hearing and make the final decision on all matters before the Commission other than site plans and subdivision plats, unless denials or conditional approvals thereof are appealed. Please contact the City Clerk or Community Development Department staff at 515-689-9485 for details on council hearings. Applicant will be given 10 minutes to present the request. If applicants wish to share materials not already submitted with the application, please email them to planning@dmgov.org so a staff host may be able to share them on the screen when you present. Proponents and then opponents from the public are then allowed to speak in that order, with each speaker allowed a maximum of 5 minutes. Staff has attempted to compile a list of people who would like to speak on each item. Staff will first call on these people and then will open it up to anyone else who wishes to speak. To request to speak during the hearing, please use the raise hand function on Zoom webinar via internet or dial *9 on your phone. Once permission to speak is given, to unmute and mute, dial *6 on your phone. You will be required to give your name and address for the record prior to speaking. Also, we ask that you keep your microphones and phones on mute unless you've been given the chance to address the Commission by the chair. Applicant is then allowed 5 minutes for a rebuttal if any opponent spoke. All comments are to be germane to the item under consideration, and speakers are to maintain a courteous manner. The hearing will then be closed, and the Commission will discuss and vote on the issue. Items listed on the consent portion of the agenda will not be individually discussed and will be considered for approval in accordance with the recommendation in the staff report, unless an individual present or member of the Commission requests that that item be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately under the public hearing agenda. The City of Des Moines is pleased to provide accommodations to individuals or groups with disabilities and encourages participation in city government. Please know that typical accommodations may be limited by emergency requirements as issued by the State of Iowa and the City of Des Moines. Is Tyler taking roll call tonight?
Rocky Sposato.
Yes.
Carolyn Jennison.
Yes.
Abby Chunga.
Yes.
Johnny Alcivar.
Here.
Lisa Howard.
Yes.
Dory Bryles.
Yes.
Steve Wallace.
Yeah.
Greg Jones.
Present.
Kayla Bergson.
Here.
Greg Wattier.
Yes.
Will Page.
Yes.
Emily Webb.
Yes.
All right, we have 12 present. Francis and Jan will not be with us tonight.
Thank you, Tyler. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from November 19th meeting?
Sorry, this is Carolyn. I'll move it.
Thank you.
Emily Webb.
Yes.
Will Page.
Yes.
Greg Wattier.
Yes.
Kayla Bergson.
Yes.
Greg Jones.
Yes.
Steve Wallace.
Yes.
Dory Bryles.
Yes.
Lisa Howard.
Yes.
Johnny Alcivar.
Abstain.
Abby Chunga.
Yes.
Carolyn Jennison.
Yes.
And Rocky Sposato.
Yes.
Motion carries 11-0-1.
Okay, thank you. Now we will have, we have 2 items on the consent agenda. I'll read each one of these. The request from 814 Development, 814 Acquisitions LLC purchaser, represented by Samantha Kopanen, officer for vacation and conveyance of the following adjoining property at 204 12th Street. The adjoining subject property is owned by Nationwide Mutual Insurance Company. An 8.54 foot by 4.5 foot segment of Mulberry Street for a front stoop. Segments of right-of-way with existing building encroachments on the adjoining north-south alley, 12th Street and Mulberry Street. Is there anyone who wishes to pull this item from the consent agenda? Are there any commissioners who would like to hear this item? If not, this will stay on the consent agenda. Item 2 is a request from Sitwell LLC owner, represented by Daniel Kelly, officer, for review and approval of a PUD final development plan, the village at Grays Lake, Lot 6, on property located at 2688 Southwest 23rd Street, to allow reuse of the former classroom building for commercial office space. Is there anyone who wishes to pull this item from the consent and hear it tonight? Anyone on the commission who wishes to hear this item? If not, do we have a motion to move the consent items?
Dory, this is Carolyn. I'll move the consent items.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Will Page,
Yes.
Greg Wattier,
Yes.
Caleb Bergson,
Yes.
Greg Jones,
Yes.
Steve Wallace,
Yes.
Dory Briles,
Yes.
Lisa Howard,
Yes.
Johnny Alcivar,
Yes.
Abby Chung,
Yes.
Carolyn Jennison,
Yes.
Rocky Spizzato,
Yes.
and Emily Webb.
Yes.
That motion carries 12-0.
Thank you, Tyler. We have two items number 6 and 8, that have requested to be continued. And I'll read those items. Item 6 is a request from Wesley Retirement Services, Inc., the owner, represented by Rob Kretzinger, officer, for review and approval of an amendment to the Wesley Acres PUD conceptual plan on property located at 3520 Grand Avenue and 401 37th Street to allow building additions for the north and west entries with reconfiguration of the adjacent parking lot areas, including extension of parking to the north toward Grand Avenue, a building addition for resident swimming pool and auditorium use on the west, a terrace pond landscape feature in the north side of the site, expansion of the existing parking lot within the front yard area along 37th Street, renovation of the central courtyard area, expansion of beer, wine, and liquor service within the Chamberlain Mansion and within all other dining service areas, and removal of the children's garden and preschool use previously a permitted use within the campus. Is there anyone who wishes to hear this item this evening?
And Madam Chair, this is Bert Drost, planner for the city. I was just wanted to mention that they've requested this continuance so that they can meet with the Greenwood Historic Neighborhood Association next week. So they have requested the continuance to the December 17th Plan and Zoning Commission meeting agenda.
Great, thank you, Bert. Anybody on the commission that wishes to hear anything about that item tonight? If not, I will read item number 8, who has also asked for a continuance. It's a request from Pridecraft Custom Homes owner, represented by Jason Duran, officer, for review and approval of a public hearing site plan for a type 2 design alternative in accordance with chapter 135, sections 135-9.2.4.b and 135-9.3.1.b for property located at 1416 East 36th Court to allow waiver of public sidewalk installation required for a new household living dwelling required by Chapter 135, Section 135-8.5.2. And was there a continuance date with this one, Eric?
Yeah, Madam Chair, just to clarify, this is being recommended to be continued by city staff due to the notification needing to be redone based on something that was a clerical oversight. So in order to notify it properly, we need to renotice it for the December 17th meeting.
Okay, great. Thank you. Is there a motion from the board to approve these items 6 and 8 be continued?
This is Emily Webb. I'll move.
Thank you, Emily.
Caleb Bergson,
Yes.
Greg Jones,
Yes.
Steve Wallace,
Yes.
Dory Briles,
Yes.
Lisa Howard,
Yes.
Johnny Alcivar,
Yes.
Abby Chunga,
Yes.
Carolyn Jennison,
Yes.
Rocky Spizzato,
Yes.
Emily Webb,
Yes.
Will Page,
Yes.
and Greg Wattier.
Yes.
Motion to continue items 6 and 8 to December 17th passes 12-0.
Thank you, Tyler.
Madam Chair, this is Eric Lundy. So number 3 is not being used because it was pulled after the preliminary agenda went out. So that item is not being considered tonight.
Thank you, Eric. So we do have items 4, 5, 7, and 9 then for the public hearing this evening. I will read item 4, a request from Antonio Dominguez and Gabriel Herrera, owners, for the following regarding the property at 301 Southeast 28th Street. A determination as to whether the requested rezoning is in conformance with the Plan DSM Creating Our Tomorrow Comprehensive Plan, an amendment to the Plan DSM Creating Our Tomorrow Plan Future Land Use Classification from industrial to low-density residential, rezone property from I-1 Industrial District to N3C Neighborhood District to allow the existing household living use to be extended with addition of a new accessory 2-story detached garage use.
Chair, members of the commission, Jason Van Essen with the city planning staff here. Let me get my screen up so you can see. Here we go. The subject property is located on the east side of Southeast 28th Street. You can see it's close to the intersection with Elm Street. It contains a house and a shed. You can see the zoning on this map for the area. We have the EX, which is kind of a business park-like type zoning, and then I-1, which is our light industrial zoning in the area, including the subject property. The property contains a dwelling or a house that's the legal non-conforming since the property is zoned I-1. I did want to show another aerial here just to pull out a little bit so you can kind of see what's in the vicinity, see why there is some industrial zoning in this area, with the railroad tracks to the north and east MLK Parkway to the south, and a mixture of large industrial uses in there with some pockets of residential use as well. This map is the future land use map, kind of zoomed in on that same area. I can see the lighter blue being the kind of more of a business park-like industrial designation, with the darker blue being the kind of the more traditional industrial use. We do need to amend the land use plan to residential if we are to move forward with a rezoning to a residential use. You can see that the nearest residential land use designation from a future land use map perspective is to the north of the tracks. Photograph of the subject property, the house, and then looking back, towards the east, we have a site sketch provided by the applicant showing where the new garage or accessory building be located, directly behind the house, a little off-centered, utilize the existing driveway. They did provide a design information for us. We did not do a in-depth analysis of this since we're not, a permit request hasn't come in because the first step is to get zoning in place. We did note that this is a two-story concept and that would require a type 2 design alternative that would need to come back to the commission should the project move forward in this fashion. Just staff reports is included in your packet. As usual, when these rezoning requests come through, our first focus is to look at the future land use map, look at the goals and kind of the information within Plan DSM and base our recommendation off of that. And then also, like I mentioned, just some quick comments on the design. This, those of you that were in attendance about a month ago, we had a similar discussion, so I won't go into a lot of detail on, the kind of the thinking. I mean, I showed the map, showed the industrial uses and the thought that over time this area is going to continue to move forward in an industrial manner. As such, staff believes that the zoning should stay in place. We do recognize that there is an opportunity to make a case for a variance or use variance hardship here with the residential use being in place. And we think that's the best path forward is for the applicant to go before the zoning board adjustment and get that use variance. And as you probably recall, you cannot apply for a use variance until you've tried to rezone and have been denied. So that's the applicant can't seek that remedy until they've gone through this process. This is the notice map. We did get one card back from the neighbor to the north in support. Happy to answer any questions that the commission might have.
Hello, Jason, this is Greg. Is the applicant aware of what you just stated about they'd have to get a denial from us in order to go to the zoning board of adjustment?
I'm not sure. It was in the staff report. We sent that to them, so they've had that information. But I haven't had any communication with them since they would have received that to be able to confirm one way or the other.
Okay, thanks.
So this is the chair. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak in favor of this item?
Madam Chair, Valerie Kramer has raised her hand. She's representing the applicant, I believe.
Okay, thank you. Valerie, could you please state your name and address? And
my name is Valerie Kramer. I'm an attorney for Antonio Dominguez, and my current address is 1163 24th Street in Des Moines. And when my client purchased this property, he purchased it as his home. And then the city decided to rezone it industrial. So it is a hardship, and it's, basically pretty unfair. And it really should be rezoned to residential because when he bought it, it was residential. And we have sent out, notified all the neighbors on October 21st of the rezoning application, and only 2 people responded. One person was confused about whether he had to respond. He lived at 2747 East Elm, and then he had no objection. And then there's this Shandis Props at 307 Southeast 28th Street. She thought he was trying to build a garage on her property. So I explained that confusion. So no one's really objected to this. And it is his home, and he should be, it was low density residential until the city decided to change it last year. So I really think that he's entitled to have it rezoned back to where it was when he bought it, because it's basically unfair. Did you have anything to say, Antonio? Antonio's here with me, and he heard what you guys have been talking about. And with that, I'll end my speech. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of this item?
Not that I know about, Your Honor. Not that I know about.
Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak against or has concerns with this item?
I'm not seeing any raised hands.
Okay. No opposition, so I would give you a chance for a rebuttal. But I think at this point, we could close the public hearing and turn it over to our commissioners for discussion.
Hello, this is Greg Wattier. I think I would offer for discussion. This feels very much. I think we're going to have a more and more of these, but it feels like a use variance to me. I don't think rezoning it back to what it was after all those years of progress and neighborhood meetings and all those sorts of things that probably the other Greg could speak more to, or staff could. But this feels like a use variance to me. Thanks.
Are you putting that in a motion?
I am not, or I would have.
Okay.
I'm asking for any discussion.
Yeah, this is Abby. I agree with Greg. I think this is a use variance situation, and I'm hesitant to put holes into the future land use plan when the same goal that the owner has can be accomplished with a use variance.
Madam Chair, this is Johnny Altuar. As Jason mentioned, we saw a similar case perhaps 2 meetings ago. And I don't know if this is the right time perhaps to get us a reminder of what we did back then. I could also take a look at the minutes if that's not applicable at this time.
Was that a question for me, Johnny?
Yeah, Jason, if you recall, what did we had a similar situation on the east side of Des Moines, and what did the commission do in that occasion?
Sure. And that was the commission. Those that were in attendance will recall that that's up by Dixon. It's in that area where 235 kind of curves and heads to the north, south of Guthrie Avenue, and so there's a street. Actual street. I don't know if it's maybe southeast 22nd, or east 22nd, somewhere in there. So that's kind of the setting for the area. The commission had a long discussion, and ultimately the motion that did get approved was to recommend rezoning the property. There was discussion at the meeting about maybe by the time it got to council, there'd be, maybe council might provide some feedback on that area in general, and whether or not the whole area needs to be re-looked at. So, it's a comparable situation in that it's how a residential property zone industrial that wants to construct a garage. That one was following some storm damage, but they wanted to enlarge it. But it's I'll leave it to the commission to decide, the rest of the circumstance. But that's what occurred.
Thanks, Jason.
Yep.
Dory, this is Greg Jones. I think we should leave the zoning alone, and so I'll move staff.
Thank you, Greg.
Will Page?
Yes.
Greg Wattier?
Yes.
Caleb Bergson?
Yes.
Greg Jones,
Yes.
Steve Wallace,
Yes.
Dory Riles,
Yes.
Lisa Howard,
Yes.
Johnny Osabar,
No.
Abby Chunga,
Yes.
Carolyn Jennison,
Yes.
Rocky Spizzato,
No.
and Emily Webb.
No.
Motion carries 9-3.
Okay, this is Dory, and I just want to make sure the applicant understands that they, since this has been denied, they can seek a use variance from the Zoning Board of Adjustment to allow the garage to be constructed, and city staff can help you with that.
Yeah, and just to clarify for the audience, and this is Jason Vanas with staff, the board tonight, or the commission is formalizing their recommendation to the city council. This still will need to go before the city council for their consideration. And then at that point, if the council would not approve the rezoning, then they would be able to seek the use variance.
Thanks, Jason.
Yep, thank you.
Oh, Kitty, we're ready for item number 5 on the agenda. The applicant is Angel Groff, owner. The location is 2200 Easton Boulevard. The requested action is determination as to whether the requested rezoning is in conformance with the Plan DSM, creating our tomorrow comprehensive plan. Part B, amendment to the Plan DSM, creating our tomorrow plan, future land use classification from low density residential to community mixed use. And Part C, rezone property from N3A neighborhood district to MX3 mixed use district to allow the existing vacant commercial building and site to be reused for a vehicle maintenance / repair, minor use, and a vehicle sales use.
Hey, Madam Vice Chair, this is Bert Drost, planner for the city of Des Moines. If this item looks familiar to any of you who've been on the commission for a while, it's because this had been before you about 3 years ago when they attempted to rezone from R160, one family residential district, to a C2 district, and at which time that was denied, and then they sought the use variance to use the property. But anyway, the subject property is located at 2200 Easton Boulevard. It's on the north side of Easton Boulevard, just to the east of the I-235 exit and on-ramp here. The subject property contains a building that's historically been used for auto repair, and I'll get to some photos here shortly. But first, I wanted to show you the Plan DSM land use map. So you can see the subject property is located right here on this dot, and Easton Boulevard is here. You can see Hubble and East University Avenue are some more major commercial corridors. So the applicant tonight is requesting an MX3 district, which requires the community mixed use future land use designation, which is the red here. So you can see that the city tries to keep that designation along the more major corridors like East University Avenue and Hubble Avenue. So the subject property here is, while on Easton Boulevard, is still in an area designated primarily as low density residential. And as I mentioned, back in early 2018, they were denied the rezoning, so they had to go to the Board of Adjustment to get this use variance. So they have been using it for the past couple years as a tire repair shop. And the applicant is now wanting, I think she's losing her tenant, and she's wanting to lease it to a new tenant who would use it for car repair and for car sales. So you can see that there were quite a few conditions of approval that the Board of Adjustment had put on it. And then again, like I mentioned at this time, she's wanting to use it for a car lot and for car repairs as needed. So here are some site photos. You can see that she has done some site improvements. She's added some landscaping, and she pulled the paving back from the front property lines in order to provide some sort of some buffering. This is the back side of the property. better view. And moving down Easton Boulevard, you can see there's two buildings on the property that were built for the auto repair type uses. And as far as our staff recommendation goes, as I kind of alluded to, the city prefers to keep that community mixed use designation along the more major commercial corridors. So we don't feel that that's an appropriate amendment for this property. As we discussed with that previous item, we feel a use variance would be more suited for this situation. So we have recommended denial of both the land use plan amendment and the rezoning. And we had 2 comment cards come back. One was from the Accent neighborhood, the other's from the Fairmont Park neighborhood. Accent is actually located across the street to the south from the subject property. So the subject property is technically in the Fairmont Park neighborhood, which did support it. And no other neighbors weighed in. So are there any questions for me?
If there are no questions, is the applicant here to speak?
Yeah, I believe I saw Angel Groff's name. So Angel, I'm going to allow you to unmute yourself. If you're on your phone, you'll have to press *6, unmute. Okay, Angel, go ahead and speak.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay, my name is Angel Groff, and property is 2200 Eastern Boulevard. I would like to request to have vehicle repair and also vehicle sale, some vehicle sale on that property, because right now is hardship and I lost rental. And I thought I'm asking to do a car repair and vehicle sale. That way I can make some money to pay for property tax and something like that. And I've been sending a letter to neighborhood. Karen was calling me. She agreed with me. And another gentleman was agreed too. At this point, I'm asking you to help, to accept me to do the car repair and also vehicle sale. Please.
Well, Angel, if that's all you have to share with us, is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of this item?
Nothing I know. Nothing I know it. Nothing I know about it.
Chair, I'm not seeing anybody else that's raised their hand.
Okay. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to speak in opposition to this item?
There's one hand raised, Madam Chair, Carol Mayer.
Okay, Carol, would you like to speak? State your name and address, please.
Sure. My name is Carol Maher, M-A-H-E-R, 1510 Center Street, Des Moines, Iowa. I drove by this property today and I was reviewing all the litany of requirements that have been requested in the past. and there were vehicles that were not parked in parking spots. The cars were sort of here and there, haphazard, and the buildings are in not very attractive shape. And I don't live in that area, but if I did, I don't think I would really like to have it more attractive looking. And I would think from a business point of view, a more attractive looking building and cars that were parked appropriately and worked on inside the bays would be much more amenable to business. And I'm hoping that the applicant will consider that feedback, especially because many of these things were asked for before when businesses were approved to go in there. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition? If not, the applicant, would you like a chance to, for a rebuttal, to address Carol's comments?
Madam Chair, she should unmute by pressing *6 if she wants to speak.
Angel, if you want to speak, you'll have to press *6 to unmute yourself. Angel, one last time, we can't unmute you, so there you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, I would like to. I'm willing to do repair whatever is nice. I'll do it for people can rent, and I can have money to do more. I'm willing to do everything that requests for me to do it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Angel.
You're welcome.
Well, at this time, we will close the public hearing and open it for a discussion by the commissioners.
Dory, this is Will Page here. Dory, can you hear me?
I did, Will. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. I thought that the zoning shown on University and Hubble that staff had shown were really quite persuasive in terms of land use, and also the aerial photos that were shown of the neighborhood in question, which from the air and also from the street is a very residential feeling neighborhood. So I, like this previous request, would think that the appropriate thing to do would be to go along with staff recommendation and deny the rezoning, and then suggest that the applicant go to Zoning Board of Adjustment for relief.
Thank you, Will. Any other commissioner like to make a comment?
Hello, this is Greg Wattier. I would support what Will is saying.
Thank you, Greg.
This is Lisa. I also agree with staff and what Will has said.
Any other comments, or would someone like to make a motion?
I'll move staff recommendation.
Thank you, Will.
Greg Wattier?
Yes.
Kayla Bergson?
Yes.
Greg Jones?
Yes.
Steve Wallace?
Yes.
Dory Browse?
Yes.
Lisa Howard,
Yes.
Johnny Alcivar,
Yes.
Abby Chunga,
Yes.
Carolyn Jennison,
Yes.
Rocky Spizzato,
Yes.
Emily Webb,
Yes.
and Will Page.
Yes.
That motion carries 12-0.
Thank you, Tyler. We're now ready for agenda item number 7. And I will read that. The applicant is Savannah Homes, Inc., owner, represented by Ted Grove, officer, 3341 East 24th Street. Jason Mullen, owner, 3335 East 24th Street. And Caitlin Sign, owner, 3323 East 24th Street. So we're talking about 3 addresses here. The requested action is the review and approval of a public hearing site plan for a type 2 design alternative in accordance with Chapter 135, Sections 135-9.2.4.b and 135-9.3.1.b, required by Chapter 135, Section 135-8.5.2.a for the property at 3341 East 24th Street, and appeal of Chapter 106-137 for all 3 properties with 1 household living dwellings for waiver of the installation of public sidewalk. Is the applicant here to speak tonight?
Madam Chair, I'll give the staff report first and then.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Then we will move to the applicant. This is Eric Lundy, Senior City Planner. This is coming by way of a initiative that kind of crosses over between the previous code and the new code, where the developer purchased the property subdivided already about 18 months ago. And it's actually, I'm going to show you the maps which show each of the parcels, but they're all adjoining each other and part of the same plat that occurred. Chapter 106 dictates the plat requirements and provides the requirement for installation of sidewalk. Typically under the previous code that occurred as part of each separate building permit. This property that's highlighted here got a permit under the previous code, and so did this property as well. Then the third property, which is still owned by the developer, Savannah Homes, that was then subject to, when that permit was pulled, it was subject to the requirements also in Chapter 135. So in addition to the platting provisions, in this case, this one also has to seek relief of Chapter 135, where sidewalk is required. So a couple layers of relief on this property. I'm going to zoom out to make it easier to see these. This is a photo looking south along East 24th Street. This is the first house that was built on where my cursor is. There's a large tree in the right of way. If I zoom in, you might be able to see a survey stake in this area that is essentially gives you reference to the curb and where the property line actually rests along those properties. This photo actually goes closer to sort of show you that property where that corner stake is shown there. This is looking north at the cul-de-sac and at where it curves around in front of, you can see my shadow. I'm actually taking the photo standing in the driveway of the second house it's in the middle lot. And panning to the right, you can see the north house under construction currently. And then this is a photo showing kind of the west side. This will be important, and I can go back to these if you want. This shows where the sidewalk terminates on the opposite side of the street. And if you want me to go back to the aerial photo, I can kind of show that where that is as well. This is standing in this cul-de-sac, kind of looking south again on East 24th Street to give you a flavor of how much right-of-way there is there on the bulb. Looking at the two most recent houses, actually, you can see all three of the new houses in the photo. And then this is more directly, you can see where the drive approach is excavated out for the new proposed driveway for the newest house. Again, the application shows what was submitted for the permits with the plats of survey information. At the time, none of these actually showed the sidewalk on the documentation provided for the permits. These are communications from the owners indicating that they are in support of waiver of the sidewalk. And then Ted Grobe's narrative that he provided, I can zoom in if you want to see that a little easier. And I'll give you a few seconds to read through that. And let me know if you need to refer back to that communication. This is a schematic, and you can see in this drawing where the sidewalk would be located adjacent to these first two properties. And this gives you a sense of the amount of right-of-way that would be between the sidewalk and the curb, and where it would cross the driveways that are already in place. The requirement would then require it to be extended around this area right here. If that drawing were complete for all three properties. This is the staff report that points to the applicable regulations in the code that are referenced in the agenda item as well. Again, the sidewalk provisions are as a result of the move DSM seeking to get complete streets, sidewalks on streets for pedestrian circulation in neighborhoods. So from staff's perspective, we did look at that and we consulted with our engineering inspection supervisor for sidewalks regarding the feasibility or the physical challenges that might be met. Certainly some have been pointed out, and if you need to go back to the photos, there's definitely things such as trees and the requirement to probably build new approaches and re-pour some of the driveways in order to make this possible at this point. And then connecting to the south is going to be somewhat of a challenge due to grade. But in staff's analysis, we believe that can be achieved even with some expense. It's not an insurmountable task. So we're recommending that the requested waiver be denied, understanding that there's an argument to be made about the practical challenges, and knowing that we would consider that if that was the case, then we would recommend that they provide some alternate sidewalk on the west side of East 24th Street, extending from that terminus that you saw in the photos 85 feet to the north, where there would be an accessible ramp connection. That should say on the new terminus to the grade of the street cul-de-sac. And they offered a sketch here that kind of showed a further extension of that. This doesn't represent 85 feet. I think the same concept would be pushed a little further up into this area where our engineering staff believed it was more appropriate with coming into the cul-de-sac at grade with the at the best location. So that's where the 85 feet comes from. It was based on an analysis by our engineering staff as to where that would most appropriately occur. These are we didn't get any comments other than the owners that are part of the request that you already saw. Are there any questions for staff at this point in time?
Madam Chair, this is Will Page. I have a question, please, Eric. On the aerial that we received in our packet, it wasn't clear how extensive the sidewalk is on the west side of East 24th Street. Could you talk about that for a minute or two? And then the other question associated with that is, how long actually is East 24th in terms of the stretch from a connector street to the cul-de-sac?
Yeah, and unfortunately, I apologize moving out here. The east-west cross street is just south of what the aerial shows here. So there's this property here is on the corner facing the east-west street there, which I believe, I'm trying to remember what it is, if it's Emma or it's not Emma, I'm sorry. I would have to go back and look at the aerial, but again, there's sidewalk on the west. I'm going to see if I can zoom in a little bit here. And as you can see, I'm sorry, it's East Tiffin. So you can see there's sidewalk on East Tiffin and on the south side of East Tiffin. And I know that the parcel line's kind of covered up. It's on the west side of East 24th. It goes all the way up to in this vicinity of this, there's a row of spruce trees here, and it terminates right about this location. What you see here is the cut that was made for the utility connections to the public utilities on the west side of the street, because they were initially extended to this area because of the original plat would have continued north through where the freeway interchange is, but this is now the terminus of East 24th Street. So while the utilities were laid here historically, that causes that street cut. So this 84 feet would go, up into here somewhere where it could get well within the bulb and not at the throat, and have a good accessible ramp spot there. You might see kids riding bicycles and things on these sidewalks, and having a accessible ramp into the bulb would be recommended by our engineering staff, to allow that type of activity to occur, so people could turn around in the bulb and then get back into the sidewalk if necessary. Yes.
Yeah, just to follow up, given the cul-de-sac configuration of the street and the fact that there is limited access to it, I can't imagine there's much vehicular traffic on that stretch. Is that correct?
Mostly local trips and people that don't know where they are is what I would say.
Yeah, thank you.
This is Abby. I just have a quick question. Is there a possibility of any more houses being built at the end of that cul-de-sac? Any future platting?
This is Eric again. It's conceivable that that could occur at some point in the future. If the church or this retirement living campus and some right-of-way were assembled to make that happen, I think it's conceivable that one house could. I think there's some challenges there with utilities with that a little bit, but it's conceivable. It would take more platting and land assemblage to make that work.
Thank you, Abby. Are there any other questions for Eric?
So Eric, a quick question for Eric. Hey Eric, it sounds like there is a sidewalk on the west side of East 24th and then on the north side of Tiffin to the south. What about the south side of Tiffin? Do you happen to know if there's also a sidewalk?
Yeah, there is on, I'm sorry, I keep changing the image instead of zooming in. So what's hard to see here, I'm going to go to the next one actually, so I think it showed better. You can see down in this corner, the line, the boundary lines are covering it up, but I believe there is some on the south side of it extends on the south side and the north side of Tiffin. And I could have Bert or Jason check on that by getting on the map system and turning that off if that's critical to have a know for a fact. From what, again, I'm seeing bits of it underneath this blue line here.
It'd be accurate to say that this is one of the last stretches without sidewalk in this neighborhood or this block?
Yeah, I mean, there's little pockets like this here and there, but for the most part, this is this has a pretty extensive network. This is a little different than some of the ones you've seen in previous meetings where they're thousands of feet away from sidewalk network. Looks like Bert's gonna share the mapping system here. It's also not on the east side going south of Tiffin, it appears.
Yeah, and it looks like it stops on the west side of East 24th, just to the south of East Tiffin Avenue.
Yeah, there's a church property that it doesn't run in front of.
Thank you, that's helpful.
Eric, this is Rocky. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Just for clarification, so staff is willing to accept the waiver if the applicant goes on the west side and puts a sidewalk in 85 feet extending off of where the sidewalk stops. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, we have the understanding of how the commission has looked at these, and so we're saying that if the commission is looking to waive it, that we would still ask for that as an alternative. But our initial recommendation is to deny this and just have them put in as they would typically be put in. But
And in that northwest corner, Eric, without there being a lot there along that fence line where the utilities are, that area is never going to get a sidewalk anyways, correct? I mean,
not likely. And of course, making that point, you're also likely not to have anybody maintaining that. It would come down to those owners, taking it upon themselves to shovel a walk across the street, basically.
Okay.
But yeah, that would be the downside of it in the wintertime is that. But in that case, I'm not sure that the pedestrian movement is critical during those periods of time either. But it's still better than not having any walk, at all.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I believe that the applicants are here on, the owners are all on this evening to be able to speak to this too.
Thank you, Eric. Could one of the applicants come forward and state your name and address?
Yes, and you'll have to unmute yourself, Ted. This
is Ted Probe.
We can hear you, Ted.
Okay. I'd like to make a couple comments if I may. Eric, can you go back and show that picture in front of that last house with the tree in front of it?
Eric, you're going to have to share your screen again.
Yes. One of the issues here is we're desperately trying to save this beautiful tree, and if we go between the sidewalk, the tree and the street, I'm told we'll kill the tree. If we go between the tree and the house, we would have to go approximately 8 to 10 feet into that yard and build a retaining wall and curve the sidewalk around that tree. If you look to the south, if we put a sidewalk in front of this house, it would dead end into about a 3-foot hill where there's no sidewalk. And the liability of something like that is really a little bit scary. One of the things that's kind of germane here is that we did not pour the drives or the sidewalk through the drives without the city's approval. And we were told no sidewalks were needed, and we were told to go ahead and pour the drives, and the drives were approved. Tearing them out, I'm not sure is something we can do. We don't own the properties right now. The two buyers that we have own the properties. I think the solution, we would be willing to go across the street and put in the 85 feet and a handicap ramp would be better for all concerned.
Thank you, Ted. Do you have any other comments for us?
If the sidewalk is required there, they would have to be built to ADA standards, which is a little bit silly if you're walking into a 3-foot tall hill going to the south, or you're curving around it in a 10 feet into a neighbor's yard. It just makes it exceedingly difficult. And I would rather do the sidewalk across the street with a handicap ramp. And I think both of the current homeowners that live there would also like that. Neither one of them wants a sidewalk. Thank you.
Thank you. Are either of the other property owners on tonight, and would they like to speak?
I see them both on here, but I don't see them raising their hands. If they want to raise their hands, it's *9. Or the
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes,
Can
who
you
is
hear me?
this?
Oh, this is Jason. I own the property at 3335.
Oh, and your last name is Mullen?
Mullen. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So it's the middle house on the images we've been seeing. I kind of agree with Ted on this one. I absolutely agree with Ted on this one. First off, I guess. I mean, we don't want a sidewalk. It doesn't seem like a major point, especially with the one across the street and the owners across the street taking care of that extended walkway and that extended lot. It seems like an obvious option for us to just go across the street, and that 85 feet sounds perfect. And then that tree is the only one on this side of the property. So if we end up accidentally losing that, forbid, we've lost quite a bit of history there, I guess. And I mean, it makes kind of Caitlin's house look even that much better, and then it adds a little appeal to mine, which is obviously something we want to keep. So yeah, well, I think Caitlin and I are both pretty heavy against it. So it's really all I got.
Thank you, Jason. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of the applicant?
Madam Chair, Caitlin Klein is also raising her hand. And I apologize, I think her name was misspelled on the agenda.
I saw it with an L, so I apologize too, Caitlin.
That's all right. I appreciate it. So my name is Caitlin Klein. I'm the owner of 3323 East 24th Street. I'm in a complete agreement with both Jason and Ted. I just think a sidewalk here would, I just agree. I don't want to lose my tree.
Okay, thank you, Caitlin. Is there anyone that is here to speak in opposition to the request? Staff, do you see anybody out there?
You might need to repeat that, Madam Chair. I think you cut out, Madam Chair. You might want to repeat that.
I did ask if there is anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the application.
I do not see any name or any hands up.
Okay. Then if there isn't, we will close the public hearing, and I'll ask commissioners to share their thoughts.
Madam Chair, this is Will Page. I think Abby's question was a good one, talking about the possibility at the head of the cul-de-sac, possible development. And, you know, if that ever were to occur, that would be the time, it would seem to me, to extend the sidewalk along the cul-de-sac somewhere or another up there to the north. In the meantime, quite frankly, I found the developer's proposal and willingness to compromise with this 85-foot sidewalk on the west side of the street a very compelling solution to the problem.
Thank you, Will. I tend to agree with you as well.
Yeah, this is Abby again. I agree with Will, and while I'm usually very much in support of the MOVE DSM plan and for putting in sidewalks whenever possible, I do think these properties were built and when it wasn't required to have sidewalks, and the site challenges, I think, are a little too much. And there is sidewalk on the west side of East 24th that goes almost all the way to Hull Avenue, where there's an elementary school, except for that property where the church is that doesn't have a sidewalk. And there doesn't appear to be a sidewalk at all on the east side of East 24th. So for all of those reasons, I agree with what Will said as well.
Anyone else on the commission wish to speak?
This is Lisa. I'm just in agreement with everything that has been said, and I'm certainly in favor of saving this big tree. And that little bit of sidewalk isn't going to make that much difference.
Is there anyone who wishes to make a motion?
I'll make a motion, thank you, to move the waiver of the sidewalk requirement on the east side of the street and to accept the developer's recommendation and agreement to build the sidewalk 85 feet farther to the north on the west side of the street as proposed here in the staff recommendation as an alternative.
Thank you, Will.
Greg Jones,
Yes.
Steve Wallace,
Yes.
Dory Briles,
Yes.
Lisa Howard,
Yes.
Johnny Alcivar,
No.
Abby Chunga,
Yes.
Carolyn Jennison,
Yes.
Rocky Spizzato,
Yes.
Emily Webb,
Yes.
Will Page,
Yes.
Greg Wattier,
Yes.
and Kayla Bergson.
Yes.
That motion carries 11-1.
Thank you, Tyler. We have one final agenda item tonight, item number 9. The applicant is 3750 LLC owner represented by Kate Miller, officer. The location is 3750 Grand Avenue. The requested action is the review and approval of a PUD final development plan at 3750 on Grand to allow for redevelopment of the existing vacant First Church of Christ Science with demolition of a portion and addition of an 8-story, 42-unit residential condominium tower with 2 levels being indoor parking. The building would have first floor permitted uses of business or professional offices, studio or instructional service, assembly, and library or cultural exhibit. And I believe Jason is handling this item tonight.
That's correct, Dory. Jason Van Essen with the planning staff. So our last item here is a map. Will show it being on the south side of Grand Avenue at the intersection or corner with 38th Place. The commission might remember hearing the rezoning request for this late last year. So tonight, we refer to these as PUD development plans, but what that really means to most is it's a site plan and building elevation. So we're not discussing uses. That was established by their PUD. And I'll show that document just to refresh everybody's memory of what we saw a few months back. But anyway, you can see the all of the building there. Some of it's been demolished already. There's a photograph looking back towards the site, a recent picture. The 2 front wings are being retained and incorporated into the project. This is the PUD document that we looked at. You can see the layout that was approved. The only variation from this has to do with the driveway off of Grand Avenue, shifting that towards the east and getting it out of the alignment of the front entrance. I think that's an improvement, and you'll see that when we keep flipping forward. The other kind of change to note is that the dark gray box to the south of the tower, previously that was thought of as being of an open carport, and the concept now is to actually enclose that into a garage space. Not photographs, but building elevations from the file, just what you saw previously, just to put that in the back of your mind, what's been approved. And then I'm going to go ahead and jump to, I think the easiest sheet to work from is the landscaping sheet. So you can see the tower. I can see the landscaping throughout, kind of a small visitor parking lot with that driveway along the east perimeter with the parking in the back, The garage that was discussed, the drive access to 38th Place. This is the pool area. Go ahead and jump to the architectural sheets. So you can see this is just a more refined drawing of the previous or the approved design, no changes. This would be the front facade looking towards Grand Avenue. This is the east, the back of the tower and the development, so the south facade. And then the west facade facing towards 38th Place. We have floor plan for reference. If we need to come back to that, we certainly can. You had the staff report in your packet. Just kind of walk through, noted the previous actions and conditions of approval. Those have all been met. I guess one thing I would hit on is the drainage and grading. There is a bio retention basin that's proposed in the southern part, kind of south of that one parking lot. That was what was identified with the PUD conceptual plan, so no changes there. Noted the changes with the carport and the drive, or those were kind of the higher level things that came out in our review. We are recommending approval, just subject to compliance with all administrative review requirements. That's very standard language. We have a lot of little different details that we're working with them on. We just want to have the opportunity to keep doing that and make sure that they comply with kind of the basic standards and requirements. This is the notice map. We did not get any formal responses. We did have some questions that were sent to us about whether or not they were changing the uses that were allowed. There was a little bit of confusion if this was a rezoning or just a site plan. Happy to answer any questions. I know the applicant team is here and ready to answer questions as well.
Anyone on the commission have any questions for Jason at this time? If not, then we'd like to hear from the applicant.
Hi, Jason. This is Brett Hartman Trap Architecture Studio.
You're ready? Anything that you have for the commission?
No,
sure.
I'm here. I know Kate Miller is on as well, so she may jump in as the owner's rep for it. But yeah, if anyone has any questions, Madam Chairman and committee, please let us know and we'll be happy to answer them.
Are there any questions from the commissioners? If not, did Kate Miller wish to speak?
It looks like, this is Brett Hartman again. It looks like can't unmute, so.
Just hold on a second. We'll allow her to talk. There you go, Kate. If you want to go ahead and unmute yourself, you can be able to talk now.
Thanks,
yes,
Jason.
Here I am. Hello. No, I just echoed same. We're happy to answer any questions. The project has been off to a really good start, very successful with sales and getting through these final steps of working through the city. So happy to answer any questions. I remember being in the meeting with you guys a year ago, and we were allowed on the agenda then too, but that meeting took a much longer in person.
So if no one on the commission has any questions for the applicants, we will close the public hearing.
Dory, we did have one audience member, so go ahead and ask if there's anybody in support and then opposition or
Yes,
just has
I
questions.
forgot. Any questions? So is there anyone who has any that wishes to speak in opposition or express concerns about the application?
This is Carol Maher, 1510 Center Street. I don't have opposition or concerns, but I was hoping that the applicant could entertain a question or two from the community at this time, if that's okay. I apologize. I know that this has been going on for a long time, but I'm a relatively new resident of Des Moines. I rode by the property the other day, and I'm big on sustainability and biking. And I was wondering if I noticed that you have a couple of bike rack parking for guests, and you're really loaded up for parking, garage parking, and parking ramp spaces for residents. Have you accommodated residents in any bike parking facilities?
Kate, did you want me to take that?
Am I muted, or can you? Yeah. There actually is a within our parking garage, we have a bike garage actually. So there's ample bike parking inside. Also in there is the bike maintenance kit. You've seen the poles that have the different contraptions for bike repairs. And then we also have a wash station. So if someone is out for a bike ride and they come in, they can hose down their bike tires or whatever. So we've got a nice area designated for bike enthusiasts or even just casual cyclists.
Rock on, that's awesome because you do have easy accessibility to the trails from there.
Yeah.
Also, the price point that you're marketing these units at are, more than I could afford. But a lot of these folks, I think, would be interested in owning electric vehicles, automobiles. Are you providing charging stations or charging facilities?
Yes, we are. Also within the parking garage. And Brad, you can probably speak better to the number or the voltage and capability for install in the parking garage.
Yes. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So the parking garage, you're exactly right. A number of buyers, not only right now, either have a hybrid car or electric car, or in the next 5 years plan to inevitably get one. So the parking ramp itself is sized amperage-wise for electricity to be provided in 50% of the cars. And because different people have different plugins, the power is accessible along the front, and they simply have to provide the specific plug-in as part of their own, and then that can be hooked up unique to their cars wherever their cars are parked.
Oh, rock on. So those aren't deeded then, I take it.
They are.
Parking spaces are needed.
Oh, okay.
But the capability is there in each parking space for a homeowner to have a plug-in.
Okay, that's great. Thanks for being forward thinking on that because let's keep going forward on electric vehicles. Yay. And then just one final thing. Are you putting solar panels on the roof?
No, actually, the building does not.
One.
Yeah, they looked at the amount, the square footage of the space on the roof, and it was studied. Definitely was as part of it. The benefit for what the panels were providing with that long, skinny footprint made it very, very difficult to rationalize out. But they could always be added in the future too.
Yeah, because I was thinking you're, the tallest thing, and you got that great southern exposure. It would be, not a lot of, impediment. But
right. Yeah, it's great for exposure. It's not very great. Yeah, it's great for exposure. It's not very efficient for a square footage footprint. So they certainly did study and again, if prices drop, they have that option for sure.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much.
It really is an option. Yeah.
Chair, we did have we have another audience member that would like to speak.
Please state your name and address.
Lee, you'll need to unmute yourself.
*6 or unmute on the computer.
Yeah, if you're calling in from a phone, *6. Otherwise, you should be able to have an unmute function in your availability there, your interface. There you go, Lee. Lee, we can hear sound, but we can't hear your voice. Lee, are you there? Lee, I'm going to lower your hand and hit the raise hand function if you can hear us and you're trying to talk. Chair, I'm not sure if Lee's having technical difficulties, but Lee, one last time, can you hit the raise hand function to let us know that you can hear us? I think we need to move on.
Okay. Is there anyone else to speak in opposition or express concerns for the project? If not, I guess the applicant did provide the rebuttal, but you do have 5 minutes for any closing statements you'd want to make. So the applicant, if you have no other comments, we will close the public hearing and commissioners, time for your discussion.
I don't hear anybody. Dory, this is Greg Jones. I'll move staff.
Thank you, Greg.
Madam Chair, we have another individual, Joseph Lakers, that's raising their hand, and I know we closed the hearing. Is there any, are you willing to listen to them, or is it too late after closing the hearing?
Well, if he has been on, if the commissioners don't object, we could hear what he has to say.
Joseph, you've been.
I think we should.
Given the opportunity to speak, you just need to hit star. There you go. You're unmuted.
All right. This is just a modification of the PUD, and the project is just going to be going on. There's extensive work already being done. So this is just a modification of your previously approved PUD. Is that correct?
This is the finalized site plan. Just the development was approved previously with regard to zoning and the overall concept and position of the building. This just finalizes kind of the more like the engineering and design details. Does that answer the question?
Yes, it does.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will now go back to the commissioners, and we have a motion.
All right, Dory Briles,
Yes.
Lisa Howard,
Yes.
Johnny Alcivar,
Yes.
Abby Chungith,
Yes.
Carolyn Jennison,
Yes.
Rocky Spizzato,
Yes.
Emily Webb,
Yes.
Will Page,
Yes.
Greg Wadier,
Yes.
Caleb Berkson,
Yes.
Greg Jones,
Yes.
And Steve Wallace?
Yes.
Motion carries 12-0.
Thank you, Tyler. Now we have any committee and directors reports, and it's that time of year to form a nominations committee. And I'd like to say thank you to Will Page for sending that reminder out today. So for those of you who are new, we form a nominations committee to nominate officers for the coming year. That committee then presents a slate of officers at a January meeting. And typically in the past, we've asked for 2 or 3 volunteers to serve on this committee. Do I have any volunteers this evening?
Dory, I'm happy to help. It's Carolyn.
Great. Thanks, Carolyn.
Lisa would help too.
Lisa? Is there anyone else who would like to serve on that committee?
Dory, this is Emily Webb. I did it last year. I'm happy to do it again if you need another person.
Great. Thank you. I think 3 are enough. So thank you, Carolyn, Lisa, and Emily. And I don't know, staff, if you have any other reports for this evening?
I don't believe so.
Well, thank you, and thank everyone. I'm sorry Jan Fried could not be with us this evening. Her father passed away yesterday. So wanted to let you know. So we will see you all at our next meeting on December 17th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.